Tonight, calls to widen the investigation into a Hamilton hospital where 2 children died after tonsil surgery. Mothers speaking out about serious complications.
It's just so shocking, thinking it's an isolated experience and then finding out that 2 kids died.
The procedures now paused.
Her skin started going really blotchy and her vitals were dropping.
Wounded in the line of duty, a police officer on a deadly gun battle at a BC bank 2 years later.
I'm now laying on my back in, pool of blood.
Please can't do it, because it was me.
Plus, shocking surrender. Newly released video of the suspect in the University of Waterloo triple stabbing. Also, a radical idea to get rid of rats.
So it's a very tasty, sweet food.
And a famous explorer's last ship.
It's a sense of euphoria.
The underwater discovery off the coast of Labrador.
Shackleton's experience in Antarctica is timeless.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Mirella Fernandez.
Good evening. Removing tonsils is a common surgery. Typically, the patient can go home the same day. But in this CTV News exclusive, we hear from 2 Ontario parents who say the simple surgery came with scary complications for their kids. Both had their procedures done at a Hamilton hospital where 2 other children died after getting their tonsils out. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
Everything seemed fine following Rosie List's tonsillectomy surgery last month, until it wasn't.
She threw up blood, just suddenly all over the living room floor.
Sarah Liz says she drove her 8-year-old daughter back to McMaster Children's Hospital where she was readmitted.
As the day went on, she got sicker.
Liz says doctors initially didn't know what was wrong. She says she was told it was likely unrelated to the surgery. But then Rosie developed redness on her neck near where her tonsils had been removed. A CT scan showed an abscess and she was booked for emergency surgery.
She had the infection in her bloodstream. I didn't really fully understand until later, I think, that it was sepsis.
Following surgery, Rosie was placed on a ventilator. She would need another surgery and a feeding tube. After 18 days, she was discharged.
It's just so shocking, thinking it's an isolated experience and it's so incredibly rare. They don't get complications like this. Most tonsillectomies don't have any complications and it's fine. And then finding out that 2 kids died.
Last week, McMaster Children's Hospital announced a pause to all scheduled tonsil and adenoid surgeries following the deaths of 2 children after they had undergone the procedures. An external investigation is also underway. The hospital says there's no evidence these 2 cases are related and no causes of death have been released. According to a study in the medical journal JAMA, deaths following tonsil and adenoid surgery are extremely rare, with a mortality rate of less than 1%.
I don't know where things went wrong.
Landy Stat's 7-year-old daughter Jade also experienced complications following tonsil surgery at McMaster Children's Hospital in April.
15 doctors had to surround her bed because her skin started going really blotchy and her vitals were dropping. Her heartbeat reached 200 beats per minute.
Jade spent 6 days in the hospital recovering. Her mom says she still doesn't know what caused those complications. Both parents say they want their child's case to be included in the external investigation. While McMaster Children's Hospital would not provide any more information due to patient privacy, they said in a statement that the review will be comprehensive. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
We do want to warn you about the next story because it shows police body cam footage of a suspect who stabbed 3 people at an Ontario university last year. Now, in the video, the attacker pretends to be a victim when first speaking with police before suddenly surrendering. CTV's Krista Simpson reports.
There's a police officer who's going to talk with you, okay?
How you doing? The nearly 6.5-minute video starts by showing Giovanni Villalba Allman being found in another room.
I got my arm up.
At first, he pretends to be a victim of the attack.
What did the person who stabbed you look like?
I cannot remember well. I mean, it was kind of tall.
Okay.
Vilalba Alman then says he got hurt trying to stop the attacker.
I was fighting back, so when everyone was fighting back at each other.
Vilalba Alman tells police he remembers the attacker had 2 knives.
Yeah, he was going to this.
Yeah, thank you for the support.
And you know something actually?
So?
The kid police can do it. Because it was me. Sorry.
Was you?
Yeah, good. I have the knife you want.
Okay.
After this abrupt confession, he's handcuffed immediately and then shows officers where to unzip his backpack to reveal a large kitchen knife inside. On June 3rd of this year, he pleaded guilty to 4 assault-related charges. As part of the plea, court also heard audio of the moments leading up to the attack. Vilalba Alman starts by interrupting the lecture and asking the professor a few questions.
Excuse me, is this psychology?
No, but you're welcome. This is gender issues.
For me?
This is gender issues, not psychology at all.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
The audio of what follows is too upsetting to play on television. The classroom erupts in screams. The attack lasted about 2 minutes. The professor and 2 students were stabbed, and Vilalba Alman tried to stab a 4th person as she ran away.
He's stabbing us! Please come and look!
He would later tell police in an interview that the attack was motivated by a desire to protect freedom of academia, saying, "I'm concerned about the ideologies, the gender studies," saying students want education, not indoctrination. Krista Simpson, CTV News, Waterloo.
The twisted doctrine of 2 brothers in British Columbia led them to target police officers in 2019. They lured them to a bank where they opened fire. One of the officers, shot twice that day, shares his recovery story with CTV's Yvonne Raymond.
2 years since a pivotal day in the line of duty, Constable Stephen Reichert is walking again and back in uniform twice a week.
I wasn't going to win this fight by just doing it myself. And really, that's the same concept as what happened on the day of the incident. I would not have been able to come away from that by myself.
The Saanich police officer had been working with a Greater Victoria emergency response team when 2 armed gunmen would take hostages inside a bank of Montreal, staging a robbery that would reveal an ugly motive.
And that was to kill police officers, plain and simple. It's a lot to digest.
Reichert was set to be the 2nd member out of an ERT van approaching the suspects. Only he never got the chance.
And I recall being set to make that step out when, suddenly I felt a very heavy impact to my left leg. That caused me to look down to my leg, and it was in that exact moment that I received another very heavy blow to my right leg. Suddenly I find myself, on my back. I'm in the back of the van, and things have gone sideways, very quickly.
He remembers teammates stating they'd been shot too.
I'm now laying on my back in, a pool of blood, and to my left is one of my colleagues. I can tell that he's been critically injured.
The brothers who opened fire on police would be shot dead, catapulting a community and its officers onto a long path of recovery.
Everybody can process and does process trauma in different ways at different speeds, and their healing processes are very individualized as well.
All 6 of the physically injured officers have survived, and we're told the community support has been a powerful part of their journey. Yvonne Raymond, CTV News, Victoria.
Recovery is a long and often unsupported process for women who have been sexually abused while serving in the armed forces. Veterans say their trauma is often ignored by Ottawa. Here's CTV's Sarah Plowman with a look at what they say needs to change.
Women who've served and defended this country have not always been protected themselves. In a landmark report, the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs found women veterans have felt invisible and made 42 recommendations to change that.
That the government of Canada should commit to implementing immediately.
The report calls for a research program on military women and veterans, for an apology to women who serve in a culture where sexual perpetrators have gone unpunished. It wants all military personnel to get a copy of medical records prior to the release date, and for women to have access to health professionals specialized in treating women, and for peer support programs exclusively for women veterans.
These are not women that came in the room as victims. These are women who came in the room asking for accountability.
The report notes in the past 3 years, about 3,400 claims of sexual trauma have been filed, that women have faced abuse and discrimination, and many struggled to have their after effects recognized by Veterans Affairs.
Today, I guess it's a way to have those people knowing that none of this was just in our heads. None of this was just something that we were complaining because we were women.
Honorary Colonel Sandra Perron was harassed and sexually assaulted during her time in the military. Now she's an advocate and is proud of those who testified.
Because for some of them, it was really difficult to recount their stories, and they did so with such bravery.
The Minister of Veterans Affairs was asked whether there's been enough change.
We recognize that culture change is not done overnight, and we have to continue putting the pressure to make sure that those changes do occur.
Veterans say they want accountability, starting with the implementation of the recommendations. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
CTV News has confirmed the Canadian Armed Forces has joined the Americans, tracking a Russian naval flotilla off the coast of Cuba. Welcomed by a cannon salute, a Russian nuclear submarine and 3 warships arrived in Havana Bay for military exercises. U.S. officials expect the ships to remain in the region for the summer. It comes amid heightened tension with Russia over the war in Ukraine. And, of course, that war and the conflict in Gaza are on the agenda at the G7 summit in Italy. The Prime Minister has just arrived. He'll join the other world leaders tomorrow for a series of meetings about energy transition, artificial intelligence, and migration. On the ground for us tonight is CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver. Annie, what is seen as the most urgent issue?
Marilla, Ukraine appears to be the most pressing topic, but leaders will also be talking about the Middle East, with experts suggesting the focus will likely be on the U.S. president's comprehensive peace plan announced last month and already endorsed by the G7 leaders. Canada, for now, won't say what it hopes to achieve from tomorrow's session on the Middle East. Later tomorrow, there will be 2 sessions on Ukraine, and there could be consensus on a plan to use frozen Russian assets to help finance the war in Ukraine. The U.S. is actively pushing its allies to get on board so an agreement can be reached. Though there is some trepidation from some European countries, experts do expect it's likely the U.S. proposal to give Ukraine a $50 billion loan guaranteed by the billions of dollars in interest accrued annually from frozen Russian assets will get support from the other G7 leaders. Canadian officials, in fact, have already said they support the idea and have been working behind the scenes to help get this done.
That could be a game changer, especially if this is done very rapidly, and Ukraine is able to use those funds both in order to keep its economy afloat, to build military industries of its own, and to be able to pay the troops, to be able to better recruit, and so on.
For the first time ever, the head of the Catholic Church will attend the G7. Pope Francis will address leaders on artificial intelligence. The pontiff has appeared in several AI-generated photos and will speak about the need to regulate AI. Morella.
CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Italy. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh will read the unredacted version of an explosive report on foreign interference, and he's calling on the Conservative leader to do the same.
It is outrageous to me and deeply irresponsible that Pierre Poilievre has no desire to read the report, to learn about what happened.
Some Conservatives say reading the documents would prevent their leader from challenging the government on the issue. Ottawa affirmed a plan today for an ongoing commission of inquiry to investigate allegations of MPs colluding with foreign powers. Coming up, uncovering history.
We'll be talking about it for another 100 years.
A deep dive to an amazing discovery off the coast of Labrador. Plus, reducing the rat population in Ottawa. That water main break in Calgary is still being repaired, which means water restrictions are still in place. The city's mayor is praising residents for their efforts to conserve.
Your collective actions are saving approximately 50 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of water.
The mayor says it will take about 2 days to install the new pipe and another 3 days to fill and flush it. Then quality tests need to be done before the water can flow back into underground reservoirs. They are facing a different kind of problem in the city of Ottawa. New construction is disturbing rat habitats, pushing them into new communities. City Council is trying to figure out how to deal with the infestations. One suggestion, rat contraceptive. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin reports.
Through alleys and sewers, rats are scrounging their way across many Canadian cities. Crikey! These rather large rodents were spotted in Ontario.
We literally have like New York rats in Waterloo. That's the crazy part.
And so some Canadian municipalities like Ottawa are looking at a fix that New York, infamous Rat Central, and other American cities are studying contraceptives.
Instead of being a poison in the typical way, it's a bait. So it's a very tasty, sweet food that rats like to eat, but it isn't lethal. So rats don't die after eating it. They reduce their ability to have many, many, many babies.
The math on this one is pretty astounding. A female rat could have 15,000 descendants within just a year. Some early data south of the border suggests some birth control pellets that would work on both male and female rats may be promising pest control, reducing the rat population by up to 90%. Rat poison can be harmful to humans and to wildlife that eat poisoned rats.
We can't poison our way out of this.
The issue came under scrutiny in New York earlier this year after a beloved owl, Falco, that had escaped from the Central Park Zoo and roamed free for a year, was found dead with rat poison in its system.
The active ingredient is cottonseed oil, which is a naturally occurring food additive that has this effect specifically within rat populations.
The product hasn't been approved here by Health Canada yet. The Ottawa City Councillor says she wants the federal government to speed up the process. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Straight ahead, a historic discovery. The successful quest for a shipwreck. In an era of exploration, Sir Ernest Shackleton was one of the most accomplished Antarctic adventurers. He set sail for the South Pole many times, but on his last attempt, he died just as the voyage was getting underway. That was in 1922. Modern-day explorers have now found his ship, the Quest, off the coast of Labrador. CTV's Garrett Berry has that.
6 decades have passed since the Quest slipped out of sight and under the Labrador Sea. This week, new pictures using sonar technology reveal its exact location on the ocean floor.
Everyone on our team who was present, it's a sense of euphoria. You work so hard. It's been, as Paul alluded to, many years that we've been planning and hoping to do this.
More than 100 years ago, Ernest Shackleton boarded the vessel, one of the great polar explorers, for a swan song expedition to Antarctica. He died on board, a heart attack that took him before his vessel reached its destination. It marked the end of an era.
But the whole idea of uncovering this history is to be able to tell it again to a new generation. His Shackleton's experience in Antarctica is timeless. We'll be talking about it for another 100 years.
The Quest got to Labrador decades later, part of a second life as a sealing vessel for its Norwegian owners. It sank in 1962, all crew abandoned ship after it got struck and damaged by thick sea ice. The search team was led by the Royal Canadian Geographic Society. They kept in contact with some of Shackleton's descendants, and on board, Torrey Top, whose father-in-law owned the Quest.
It's incredible. I couldn't believe that that would be possible. One of the dreams was once to be able to locate where Quest was being.
The next step will be to head back to the wreck site with some underwater cameras to get an even better picture of this vessel. This group believes with new pictures, they'll be able to bring the story of Ernest Shackleton and his polar adventures back to life for a new generation. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
The liver of a 98-year-old American man who passed away has been transplanted into a 72-year-old woman. It's believed he's the oldest person to have donated an organ in the U.S.
He was doing what he'd done all his life. He was giving one more gift.
Orville Allen, a veteran of the Second World War and Korean War, had been in strong health until falling and hitting his head at his home in Missouri. Older fans remember Basketball Hall of Famer Jerry West as Mr. Clutch, but to younger fans, he will always be the logo.
West stops for a 20-footer. It's good!
West burst into the league in 1960 as a high-scoring guard from the University of West Virginia. He quickly became known for his smooth style of play that in 1969 became the inspiration for the NBA's logo. West was an all-star in each of his 14 seasons and led the Lakers to a championship as a player and 8 more as the team's general manager. Jerry West died today in Los Angeles. He was 86. After the break, the Stanley Cup Finals returned to Edmonton. Tomorrow, Edmonton will host its first Stanley Cup final game in nearly 18 years. The city is buzzing with excitement, but also anxiety, with the Oilers trailing the Florida Panthers 2-0 in the series. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee.
It's quite a phenomenon when masses of people come together for one thing.
It's incredible. There's such a strong fan base here. Everybody is just really excited about the opportunity to watch all the guys get this far in the playoffs.
After 18 years, Edmonton will host the Stanley Cup Finals again.
I think if they get down 3-0, it's going to be too big of a hole. So tomorrow's obviously the biggest game of the year.
The team back at home, gearing up for Game 3 after another loss to the Florida Panthers.
We're not too sure what's going to happen tomorrow, and I think that's what makes it all that much more exciting. We know that we have to pick up our game. We got a lot more to give.
We get the next 2 at home, which is fantastic, and just got to protect home ice. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. So we're excited for the opportunity to win one game at home.
The energy in Edmonton, palpable. Fans of all ages supporting the Oil through thick and thin.
I put my heart into this team. Like, I revolve everything around the Oilers, so it's just cool to finally be here, because I've dreamt about winning the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup for the longest time, and we're finally here. We're so close, so it's just really cool.
I think they're going to come out firing. I think if they get the first one, the building's going to be rocking, and that could be just enough to win.
After 54 attempts, only 5 teams have won a series final after being down 2-0. But the Oilers say they've been in many tough situations before and have overcome them. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Edmonton.
And Omar, the national team will be broadcasting from Edmonton tomorrow night, 11 p.m. for Game 3 of the series. That's a wrap on the day. Thanks for sharing your time. For all of us here at CTV National News, good night.